I don't even know if you guys remember, but last time you told me about the engagement and the year you guys were engaged and your parents getting ready and going through the temple right before and you guys going through the temple. The sad stuff about what happened with your grandpa and grandma that year too as well. Yeah. You told me about that last time, which means that we led right up to, but didn't get to the wedding. So that means today we get to talk about the wedding.
A wedding?
Uh-huh, your wedding.
I can barely remember the details.
So first I want to hear the story, like, and everything, like, what are the things that happened at your wedding? I don't even know where you were married, things like that. And then I want to hear your thoughts on the experiences and your feelings about it. Okay. So Grandma, you start. Tell us the story behind it first. And then maybe your thoughts.
Okay. Once Grandma and Grandpa Gunn got their recommends and they were ready to go to the temple, then we set the day. And I told you that Grandma Clicky was sealed to Grandpa Clicky, and then Grandma and Grandpa Gunn and my family, we were all sealed, which was super cool.
And was this the same day or the day before?
The day before.
Okay, day before.
And I took out my endowments the day before with my mother. She took out hers too. It was really a wonderful experience to be there with her. I think I cried through the whole thing.
Didn't I get
you
my
got
endowments
yours
that
the
week?
same day.
Yeah, but I went through with your dad, I think.
Yeah, it was his first time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
you went through with your mom, you went through with her dad.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Isn't that cool?
That's really cool.
And it was his first time. And while we were in the temple, after they received their endowments, and we were waiting for our family to be sealed, then we saw Grandpa's cousin, who just happened to be at the temple.
Random.
Wow,
that's
and
cool.
they were from Washington.
Oh, wow.
And so they came to the sealing. Wow. It was very cool because Grandpa loved his cousin. And the other thing there was a miracle that day because we went to the temple and everything was done that day. And they told me that I couldn't be sealed because I was never adopted legally by my dad.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so I was devastated. And it was horrible. And so the temple president, President Clayton was his name.
Okay.
He came down and he talked with me in a room by myself. And he said, yeah, it was very special. And the spirit was really, really strong. And he said, how do you feel about all this? Because I'm the great something granddaughter of Wilford Woodruff. So
I remember you saying that.
So it's kind of a special lineage. And he said, how do you feel? And I said, I really want to be sealed to my family, my mother and dad and my sisters and my brother. And so they looked at it, and it was quite a while, and they came back, and they said that they would make a special exception. Oh, wow. Because I was baptized as Geraldine K. Gunn.
Really? Wow, and that's what made the difference.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
And all of my records, as far as anything in my life, had been that name.
Okay, good.
So they made the exception, so I got to be sealed with a family, which is very special. And then we had kind of a special dinner after that with just the family. And then his mother and dad and their whole family, his aunt and uncle, came in
Aunt
the car.
Lillian made our wedding cake.
Oh,
and
okay.
they brought it all the way from Colorado in the car. And just before
they got to Salt
Lake, Dad hit the brakes or something?
No, his uncle pulled the emergency brake accidentally.
He was thinking he was going to set some air and he pulled the emergency brake and the cake set off.
Oh no!
Yeah.
And so anyway, his mother and dad were staying in a hotel, and then the lady that we had, oh gosh, there's lots to tell you. The lady that we were having the reception, we were going to have the reception at Grandma and Grandpa Clicky's house, But her best friend
Uh-huh.
had a beautiful home in East Mill Creek.
Oh, wow.
And so she asked if we could have it there in her garden.
Okay.
And so they just have this beautiful, beautiful garden. And so we did. We
Okay.
decided to have it there. So when the wedding cake was ruined, which was after we went to the dinner, then his mom and dad came, and they told us about the wedding cake. Well, Aunt Lillian, this sweet little thing, she went up to Sister Holder's house, and she
Or we're
spent
having the reception.
where we were having the reception, and she spent the whole evening redoing the cake. Probably way into the morning for all that I know.
Yeah, probably.
And she redid the
Wow.
whole cake. And it was the most beautiful, beautiful cake.
Mm.
And on top it said, "Whether thou goest, I will go." And there was the scriptures.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And we still have it. But I think it's in a case, the top.
The top part. Okay.
And, but what I didn't realize, and this is a sidelight, we used to have it on, when we were first married, we had it displayed. And then
Uh-huh.
as the years went by, it ended up being in the cubby. But it was in the top shelf of the cubby.
Uh-huh.
What I didn't know is the kids would sneak in there and eat the roses off of it.
No way.
And
Are
so
you serious?
they were probably really old.
Yeah.
And then one day I noticed all of the flowers were gone. And the pages were starting to be peeled away. And then Andy and
The pages
you're-
were in the shape of a Bible.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You know, the
Yeah.
pages.
Uh-huh. Looking at. Uh-huh.
Looking at the Bible.
Wow.
So anyway, that's just a little
That's
sidelight.
hilarious. I'll bet that was gross tasting. It's so old.
But they had been eating it all those years. They just kind of sneak it.
Clever. Very clever.
And so that was a little sidelight.
So this was all the day before?
Yes.
All the prep. And your family, Grandpa, had they just come in the day before then? Or?
They came in the afternoon the day before.
Okay.
And that was kind of a sad part of the whole thing, because they aren't members of the church. They are now, but they weren't then.
My parents never were.
They
Oh,
are
you
now.
baptized
because
them.
we
Oh,
had-
yeah. Sorry, I thought, okay, you're talking about the other side. I thought you meant they got baptized before they died.
Oh, no. And so, anyway, they couldn't go
Yeah.
to the ceiling. But they were really sweet about it, really kind, and really nice. And they waited outside the temple. And then, the morning of our wedding, Grandma Clegia got sick. And so she
wow.
couldn't come with us. But anyway, we went to the temple and see. We knew nothing because my family wasn't active, and
Yeah.
they'd just gotten sealed the day before.
And you were the first member in your family.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So those sealing, those initiatory and getting the priesthood and all of it occurred in that day in the temple.
That's amazing.
Isn't
I
that-
think I was ordained an elder first. Before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you had been ordained an elder.
Yeah.
I remember
long
you said
time,
that.
you
But I
were-
can't. Bruce DeHaan ordained me an elder,
Yeah.
didn't he? He's the fellow who baptized me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were an elder when I met you.
Yeah, that's right.
Now this is how bad I am. I don't even know, like, what time of year was this? What year? Or
August.
what date?
August 18th.
18th.
Yeah, August 18th.
What year?
1959.
Wow.
A few years ago.
That is impressive. Okay, so anything else that you remember about, like, the day before, leading up to it, before we get to the day of? Either side?
I bought a new car for us.
Oh.
Did I have the diesel? No.
Mercedes.
I had a little red Mercedes diesel I just bought.
Okay.
We took that on our honeymoon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, day of.
Day out.
So, the day of, we, of course, got up. I stayed with Grandma and Grandpa's, Cookie, and Mom and Daddy were there, and all my sisters and my brother.
Cool.
And so we all got up, and except for Grandma Cookie, who was sick, and which was sad for me,
Yeah.
really sad for me. And so we went to the temple, and since none of us had
Salt
ever...
Lake Temple?
Salt Lake Temple, sorry. And since none of us had ever done this except the day before when my family was sealed, but it was a brand new sealing, it wasn't a family sealing, and so I didn't know you could have guests.
You mean it's brand new and
Oh,
So
really? Okay.
I had this one lady that I worked for that summer at Denver Bakery at Dan's food town, and I had asked her, or she had actually said, could I come to the ceremony? And I said, absolutely. But I had no idea that a lot of people could come. So I didn't invite anyone. And so it was just
Other than
our
your family.
Yeah, our family. And so we went into the ceremony, and it was so beautiful. The Salt Lake Temple is so incredible. And President Clinton did the sealing,
Cool.
and he asked if he could, and he had done so much for me the day before, and so we became very bonded. And so he was so wonderful, and there's a couple of things that I remember, and one of them was that he said that angels were there, and that the sealing was not really done by him. It was done by Heavenly Father, and that this was an eternal bond. And he said that's what you have to think of it always, as an eternal bond, and do everything you can to make sure that this is an eternal marriage, and don't let anything ever happen. And then he said the most important thing in marriage is kindness. And so those are the two things that I kind of remember from when he was talking to us beforehand. And then we were sealed, and then we came out of the temple, and his mom and dad were there, and so we had pictures with them.
Grandpa, do you know how did your mom and dad, how did your family feel that they weren't able to go into the temple? Do you know if that was a bitter
I
point
don't know
for
that
them?
they didn't say too much. I think they felt it, but did they make any
They were very
comments?
kind.
They were
Very kind. They never expressed having as strong of feelings as they did, or as his mother did, against the church. I thought it was very kind of them never to make a point of that. And his aunt and uncle were very sweet about it. And they were all members of the reorganized church originally, not at that point, but they had really strong feelings, but they were so kind that day. They were just very supportive and happy, and so then they took us to breakfast, the families, two families,
Nice.
his mother and dad, and
That's
took
nice.
us to breakfast. We had a wedding breakfast.
Yeah.
And my cousin and her husband came, but they could have come to the ceiling, but I didn't know.
Which cousin were
Carol
they?
and Ron.
They had not been sealed.
Yeah, they had already been married and sealed.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah. But anyway, they came in, and a lot of family, and so we had the breakfast, luncheon. And then we kind of separated, because I went back to Grandma and Grandpa Cookies, and you went with your mom and dad. And then it was this beautiful day in August, and it hadn't rained all month, and it poured.
The night of your wedding it did?
It was
the reception,
pouring,
For the reception.
and it was a garden reception.
Yeah, so what'd you do?
So we ended up having it in their home.
Oh, wow.
Because you couldn't even, it was pouring. I mean, there was no hope. And they'd done all this work in their beautiful garden.
Oh, man.
But the whole back of their house was windows and doors.
Okay.
And so you could see the garden, but it was pouring rain.
Wow, that's funny.
So the whole thing was in the house. And it was very nice, very nice. And let's see, we had the reception, and my cousin Carol and my roommates Bonnie and Marion, and and then all my sisters were on my side,
Mm-hmm.
and then your side was your brothers. Your brothers.
Yeah, but not any cousins.
No, just your brothers.
Yeah.
And then and it was wonderful because all the people that we had lived by in Salt Lake came.
Mm.
So it was really nice to see all
Yeah.
those people. I hadn't seen them since we moved to New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It was wonderful, and so we had a lovely reception, even though it was raining pouring. And then we went to Grand Canyon for our honeymoon.
Yeah,
Okay.
our little Mercedes diesel. And that was kind of interesting because this is just a little sidelight.
That's okay.
Most stations didn't have diesel fuel,
Oh, that's true.
Oh, really?
so we had to be careful. We got out in the middle of the flats and had to stop because we were low on fuel.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Had to stop at a little motel.
Any specific moments or memories that stand out to either one of you guys from the wedding or the day or two leading up for it?
I think the ability to go through the temple and receive our endowments was really stood out in my memory a lot. It was, you know, when you're a convert and you never grew up in the church, I had some pretty good grounding in by teachings, but not that much.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that impressed me was how, well, two things. The inside of the Salt Lake Temple, I just
Yeah.
oohed and awed
Yeah.
every time I turned a corner. But mostly was what was really happening and what it meant. And the temple staff were so good and so helpful and teaching as they did, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned a lot that day that stuck with me,
Yeah.
very much so. And made me really want to do the work for my family.
Yeah.
I spent many years doing that.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Any moments that stood out to you or specific memories that...
I think it was so full of memories for me because to be sealed to my sisters and my brother and my mother and dad and the day before, and to have that sealing bond with my own family. And then I thought, when that happened, then I was also sealed to my grandma and grandpa because my mother had been sealed to them. And so it was a chain of wonderful things.
Yeah.
Just kind of felt like everything came together. And I remember when we were sealed that my dad came up to me and he hugged me and he said, "Now you're totally mine."
Wow.
So that was really, really a neat experience to have, you know, Daddy say, "You're my daughter now for eternity."
Yeah.
And then
Wow.
that was very special.
Mm-hmm.
And then our wedding day, I just loved the feeling in the temple. It was just an incredible feeling to walk into the temple and know that you're going to be sealed for eternity to someone
Yeah.
that you would have forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so grateful because I loved the church so much. And just to be able to have that next final bonding was just so incredible to me. And I remember when, after he did the sealing and we had kissed each other and everything, then he had to stand up and look at the mirrors
Yeah.
and how they go forever.
Uh-huh.
And I just looked and thought, this is just forever. And the only place this can ever be done is in that place. And whatever you have to do, whatever you have to sacrifice, it is so worth it. And I just stood there and thought, oh, you know, it's just so worth it to be able to do everything that Heavenly Father had asked. And I just kept thinking, oh, thank you, because it could have been so different, but I was so blessed, and I just loved that part of it. I loved the ceremony and the things that you promised, and I loved the feeling of those promises going into your heart. It's almost like you already knew them, and you were being reminded. I loved that feeling. That was my very favorite part.
Interesting.
And then I loved seeing all the people that I hadn't seen for years at the reception. I love Sister Holder for offering her home and going through so much, and to just have so much fun with all those people. It was an incredible day, even though it rained.
Well, it was interesting too. This is just a little sidelight. That the Holder's house was right across the street from Grandma and Grandpa Kluge's house. You know, they were neighbors across the street, and so it was very neat for that feeling, because I knew that house was there because I visited Jerri and Grandma and Grandpa's for a year or two before we were married.
Yeah.
And have it right at the house across the street, because even though it rained and all of that, we also had her grandma's house right there.
Yeah.
And it was a nice feeling to familiar territory, familiar neighborhood. And
Yeah.
I'd gone to the ward quite often. We were there with Jerri. It was great.
Do you remember what feelings you had? Like, did you feel nervous? Did you feel excited? Did you just feel overwhelmed or grateful? I mean, do you remember any of the feelings you had that day?
It's an emotional roller coaster, really what I mean.
What do you mean?
Just, it's heading up, but then you get a plateau like, are we going to be able, she's going to be able to be sealed to her dad?
Sure.
You know, it was wonderful. Exciting time.
Yeah.
It was really fun. It was kind of a combination of extremely spiritual, extremely blessed, because I almost didn't get to have everything happen after all the years of waiting to be sealed with my family, and so that was just the total opposite of the happiness.
Yeah.
And then to feel the joy of being able to have the whole thing happen, it was just wonderful. And I was so appreciative to his parents and his aunt and uncle for being so supportive and kind. And his aunt for making that cake and bringing it all that way.
That really is amazing.
I know. And it was just fun to see my sisters and my brother were so young. Hal was in his line too. That's right. And then when Hal got married, he was his best man, so it was kind of fun.
Cool. That's cool.
But it was just a wonderful day, and I think if I had any feelings, it was the fulfillment of it, the feeling of being able to be in the temple. I've been outside the temple my whole life because we lived on Capitol Hill when I was little.
That's true.
And so I used to walk by the temple every day to go to school. And I loved it so much. And I didn't really understand it. And then when I got older and realized what it really was, when I was young, I thought it was a castle. And then as I got older, I realized what it really was, because my grandma and grandpa were
Something I ought to mention, I hope I'm not wrong in this, but I remember getting my endowments in the Salt Lake Temple a day or so before.
The day before, you were with Daddy. You were with my dad, and I was with Mama.
So I got my endowments just the day before too.
Anyway, it was so fun, and such a wonderful, fulfilling feeling. I still feel I don't even know if there are words. I still feel that amazing feeling of the Spirit just flooding your whole spirit, and here you are in the temple of the Lord. Whoa, it was just incredible. That was my favorite part. Was just that overwhelming feeling of happiness and fulfillment.
Do you remember having any specific like spiritual experiences with that?
When we were in the sailing room to be married, I could almost see the other spirits who were there from the spirit world.
Wow.
I've been given such a great gift in my life to be able to have that closeness beyond the veil, and I could see almost visually see, but spiritually I could see for sure all the spirits that were in the room besides, because we only had one visitor. And that was this lady, I can't even remember her name. I feel so terrible because she's so wonderful. But the room was full.
Yeah.
The room was totally full, overflowing with spirits.
I don't want to change the subject, but along that line, my spiritual experiences in the temple didn't come until I did the work for my family.
Interesting.
And then when I would go to the temple for my dad, and, you know, and things like that, then I had that wonderful feeling that Jerry had that day.
Yeah.
So you didn't have it that day?
Well, I did. I did for you, but I'm talking about family.
Yeah.
I couldn't feel that closeness like you did about the future and its family because they weren't there.
How, sorry,
Yeah, go ahead.
how long until you did that work for your dad and your mom? I don't even, that's something we'll talk about later, but I'm curious right now.
Yeah.
He started right away doing genealogy for other people, but his dad and mom were still alive.
Yeah.
And so he did the work for his dad a year after his dad died, which was, I'm not sure of the year, we'll have to look that up. But his mother did not get her work done. She lived longer, for one thing. And
But I
then,
remember that day.
yeah,
So, but that's off the subject, but it's...
What do you remember about that day, Grandpa?
I remember just the feeling of eternal love and what it meant to represent my dad when we did that. It was a very good feeling. And I felt that he accepted it. Wow. I really felt that he was ready when it happened. Now, I don't know about the little problem with my mom. They lost it. They lost her.
Oh, wow.
We had to go back and we took the name in to go Jerry to do it. And then it wasn't.
no, we sent it down to Arizona because Grandma Roush loved your mom so much. She was such a good grandma, and she just loved your mom. So this is way off of the
That's okay.
timeline here.
Go ahead.
But Grandma Roush loved your mom so much, and she loved me, but not, I don't know. She was upset that I was a member, and that I would keep him in the church.
But loved my mom.
Loved your mom. Loved her grandchildren. She was wonderful to all of them. But especially your mom, because your mom was the first Roush in 5 generations to...
Female.
And so,
Wow.
yeah, female.
That is incredible.
So this beautiful, not embroidered, crocheted, knitted blanket had been done like 3 generations before, and for the next girl. And your mom
And
got
my mom was that next girl. That is incredible.
So it was really cool.
Wow.
And
So you sent for my mom to do the work, but something happened?
sent the name to the
Well, we
Mesa
actually tried
Temple.
to do it here and lost the name.
No, No, you're missing.
Oh, am I?
Yeah,
Well,
just a little bit.
okay.
But we sent
That's
it
okay,
to
go
the
ahead.
Mesa
Oh,
Temple,
that's right.
Oh, okay.
and so that your mom could do it.
Uh-huh.
And she went to do it and was gone.
That's right. It was
Oh
And
my
so
goodness.
We had to. We knew why I was
we're,
gone.
we're trying to tease me and said, Mom sneaked in there. We didn't do it.
She wasn't ready.
She wasn't ready yet.
So we had that reunion at your house,
Yes. Uh-huh.
and that was actually the last time we were in the temple as a family.
Wow.
But we went to the temple, and I did the work for her,
Oh, wow.
which I don't know how that happened. But anyway, I decided that I should do it, and I was a little nervous because I didn't know if she was going to accept it.
Uh-huh.
And so, as I walked into the baptismal font at the Mesa Temple,
Uh-huh.
he was the one that was baptizing me
Oh, that's
for
special.
his mother.
That's really special.
And I was his representative, I was proxy for his mother.
Uh-huh.
And as I walked into the water, I didn't know if I was going to be electrocuted or, and I didn't know what she would think. And so I was really nervous. And as I walked into the water, I just had this overwhelming feeling of joy.
Wow.
And I knew that she was so thrilled
Hmm.
to be there and to have this happen. That she totally accepted it. I knew the minute I stepped in the water, this feeling of total joy. I was so happy. And so he baptized me for her. And then I did her initiatories. And then I went through, and your mom and everyone was there.
Wow.
And except Tiff, she'd burned her hand the night before, so she didn't come.
Oh,
She was the only one that wasn't there. And then, and Matt wasn't there because he'd stayed with her
Okay.
because she was so hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then while we were waiting for the sealing of his mother and dad and him to his parents,
Okay.
Matt walked in. It
Oh,
was
wow.
so cool.
That's so
And so he was there for the sealing. So
Wow.
all our children were there
That's
for the
amazing.
sealing, except Tiff.
Wow.
And then,
And were you taking the place of your dad in that
Yeah.
sealing, and then
Yeah.
you were your
I
mom's
was
mom?
the mom.
That's cool.
And then,
It was a very, very special spiritual day.
it
It
was.
really was. I could feel Mom and Dad accepting,
Wow.
which I didn't think they ever would.
I knew your dad would.
Yeah,
He's such a gentle soul.
I remember you telling me one time that he said that he had good feelings toward the church.
yeah.
Yeah. So we were sealed for her. His parents were sealed. We were
Uh-huh.
proxy, and then he was sealed to his parents, and that was just an incredible thing.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Who were your parents then? Who were the
Kim
proxies?
and
for-
Matt.
Cool. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt had asked if he could do it, and Tim was gracious because Tim was the oldest child. He probably would have been the one, but Matt asked, and Tim said, "Of course."
Tim was okay with it and
Yeah.
said he could. That's cool.
So he was the dad, and Kim was his mom, and he was sealed to her.
And you said that all of the kids, like my dad was there, like the son-in-law, daughters-in-law, except for Tiff who was sick.
I know, everyone, but poor Tiffy.
What was that like to look around the room and see your kids all there and married and just describe to me your feelings about that. Grandma, you go first, and then Grandpa.
Oh, I can't even talk. It was really special. I miss Tiffany being there, but to see everyone else there and to see these wonderful people that our children had married, it was just so incredible to have them all there in that room and have that experience. And to feel the unity of eternal family. It's just so wonderful, and especially to know that all those years when his mom especially was so negative about the church, to be in a room and know that she was totally involved and loved the church and wanted to be sealed to his dad, but she wasn't always sure. That was, something that she believed in. And it was just such a beautiful day. And again, I knew they were there. And I knew there were so many spirits there that were just celebrating that this was happening. It was just marvelous experience, marvelous experience. And especially since it was also a family reunion, so I knew a home where all these children that were also part of this. So
there was some really strong feelings when I baptized Jerri for my mom. I'm not a crier, but I was pretty teary. And the whole afternoon was very, very special. The different sealings that went on with Mom and Dad, and my family representing those people. The thing I knew very strongly that day is that my mother and father accepted it on the other side. I knew that.
Oh, and you know what else happened that I forgot until just now? Your mom and dad were sealed to their parents.
Oh, that's right.
You had already done all of the work.
Oh, wow.
And so they got to be sealed to their parents. So everybody had a part.
Wow.
I'd forgotten that.
Yeah.
So we traded. And different people had different roles.
Yeah.
And so everybody got a part.
I think
That's
that was,
amazing.
It was my grandfather line. It didn't go back further at that point to my great-grandfather, but my grandfather,
But your parents were able to be sealed to their parents.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
Now,
That's so
now the line's gone way back and the work's been done.
That's so cool.
I know, it's so cool. And we weren't going to do that part.
Oh, really?
But, we didn't think of it. But the sealer said, now wait a minute. Have they been sealed to their parents? And we said, no. So we were able to do that. And I can't remember who did what role.
Part?
But everyone was trading off to be able to be a part of it. So it was really special.
Very special.
Yeah.
Special day.
Grandpa, what do you remember about being in the temple and seeing all of your kids there and their spouses?
That's happened several times, but one of the times was, I think, in the Mesa temple. I can't remember, but just to sit and look and see all my children and their spouses in the temple was one of the most special emotional feelings of my life. I just sat there, thanked the Lord over and over. I didn't think that would ever happen. You know, when I joined the church, I had no idea. It's been beautiful, beautiful thing that happened and is happening. It's gone generations. Now Tim's doing it.
Yeah.
And you know, it ends up on my computer when he does it.
Oh, really?
On my program.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've seen.
Because it's
Where
synced
did that
online.
come from?
And your mom's doing a
I know
lot.
that Tim and my mom talked about stuff, or she's
Yeah.
been calling him or something. I
Yeah.
can't remember what it was.
It's really special. And that's a real bonding thing for your mom and Tim.
Yeah.
So it's just a special thing.
Yeah.
I remember one time, and we are really not going in order, but I think one of the most spiritual times was for just our little family is when Andy and Jan were sealed,
Oh, that was the one. That was the one I was thinking.
yeah, it was in
It was,
Salt Lake.
yeah.
And to have the first time to have that complete
Oh,
unit.
because that was the first time that everyone was all there.
I wasn't at Mesa, it was the Salt Lake Temple
Yeah.
that day, yeah, that's right.
And to see, and then for our children, just our children, when when Andy went through the temple for his mission,
Yeah.
those are the times you kind of remember that stand
Mhm.
out, because
Yeah.
when I walked through the veil into the celestial room, there were all my children.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was really incredible.
Yeah, you
Because
can.
Andy had just gotten his endowments. He was
Yeah.
going on a mission.
Uh-huh.
And there's all my children in the temple. And Grandma Gunn said that she could feel so many spirits that were part of our family that were there
Mhm.
each time. So she was really a spiritual woman.
Yeah.
So it's really amazing. I think the temple is the best part of so many things, because
Yeah.
you know, when we went through with you, oh my gosh, you know, it's
Mhm.
Yeah.
every time that happens, it's more.
Yeah.
It's more beautiful because more of your family is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, special.
Now, hearkening back all the way to when you two started that, do you think you had any inkling or any idea back then, you know, in 1959, the magnitude of it all, and what thoughts do you think you would have about starting it off back then, that initial day, and then what became of it?
This is incredible. You have no idea. You're just this little couple
Yeah,
going through.
it's hard, it's hard when the moment is so special
Mm-hmm.
to project what it will be like 20 years from now, you know.
Yeah.
We thought, you think about it, but at the time it's now.
Uh-huh.
It's the honeymoon, it's,
Uh-huh.
you know, you don't think about that much,
Yeah.
that far ahead.
Uh-huh.
Did you?
No.
It's
No.
hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think you're supposed to. I think you're just
Mhm.
supposed to relish the moment, and then the next moment, and the next moment,
Yeah.
and just feel that spiritual experience each time.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, it was interesting, because when we bought our home and settled down and started having children, I didn't think much about extended family until I got a computer.
Mm,
And then
yeah.
I got interested in genealogy.
Yeah.
And that's when I started really getting concerned about family
Mm.
and generations back and what was going to happen. But I spent a lot of hours
Yeah.
digging into genealogy,
Yeah.
to see the church has come so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is so fun. It is so fun to think what happens with that first moment
Yeah.
when you're sealed in the temple. What an amazing thing. And the thing is, Heavenly Father knows.
Yeah. He does.
Yeah.
He's going, whoa, this is going to be incredible. I can do this and this and this.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's an amazing day to be sealed in the temple, but I don't think you even have a partial comprehension
Yeah.
of what it's really going to be, and what a blessing it is, and how blessed we are to belong to this church. Because when I went through the temple, I didn't know anything. They didn't have temple prep,
Uh-huh.
all that kind of stuff. I just knew that I wanted to go because it was the next step. But I was so blessed because it was like I knew. And when I had initial choice, when I went through for the endowment and the sealing, was like, I know this.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. I never had a feeling of not loving it. It was like, oh. just this amazing feeling. I couldn't stop crying.
Such a surprise.
Yeah, it's such a surprise. He doesn't cry, I cry. It's just, and to be next to my mother was really special because I knew it was her first time too.
Yeah.
And that's why we waited so long to get married.
Yeah.
In other words, we were engaged for how many years? 2 years?
No, it probably seemed like that.
Yeah, for a while.
I think last time you said it was over a year.
A little over a year,
right?
yeah. We were engaged in May, end of May, and we got married the next year in August.
I guess what the last question I have for you today, given what we've talked about, and your wedding day when you were sealed, and then just all these experiences you had with your eternal family, I guess I would just, in closing, ask, what are your thoughts then when you think of eternal families, and specifically your eternal family? What are your thoughts? What comes to your mind? And Grandpa, I'll start with you, and then Grandma.
Wow. I'm grateful. Now this goes back for that day in Fort Benning, Georgia, when Bruce DeHaan baptized me. I think back that far.
Wow.
And at the time I had no concept of what all that meant. But I do know it was right, because we would go out as soon as I was baptized and go with Bruce, and he would proselyte, and I'd go with him, but he did most of the teaching, because I was. But from there to our marriage till now, I can't imagine a different life at all. It doesn't even equate the way the difference in my brothers and what they're doing and where they're going compared to me. And I love them very much, but their paths are so divergent. And yet they're good people. They don't smoke or drink or anything, but they're different. Then to see what's happened in my life, I can't imagine what it would have been had I not joined the church that day. I can't comprehend where I'd be or what I'd be doing or what life would have been like. I just hope I can stay the path and have that kind of feeling when I pass through the veil that I've had little inklings of from family. What I see my dad and mom, I feel the warmth in my heart when I know they accepted it. And my dad used to say things about Mormon church, positive, and I just knew that that's really what was needed and wanted by them, and I don't know what I would have done or would have been. I'm just grateful. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about what I would have done. But it's been a good life. It's been a great life. And there's been a lot of spiritual things that have happened. I loved going to the temple for different members of my family as I did genealogy. I could feel it time after time. It's been great. I just hope I get it finished.
Before you finished.
Sometimes I'm afraid I won't. Yeah. I'm glad Tim's kind of taken over. Because you get older and you get forgetful. And I find it harder to do the things that I need and want to do, to get some more names ready. And yet the programs are there now. I just got to learn to use them better. But it's been a great journey. It's been wonderful. I'm grateful for you doing this.
Oh, of
Because
course.
I don't think we'd have ever done it ourselves.
Well, it's fun for me.
Yeah, I love it.
Good. Grandma, what are your thoughts on eternal families, or on specifically your eternal family?
Well, if I can talk.
If you have to blubber, that's okay.
I think the word that comes is joy. There's such an incredible experience to know that your family is sealed for eternity. And to know that you will be a unit together forever. And that it just gets better and better. And to see all these new little ones coming and see their little faces and know that that's part of this wonderful blessing that all started that day. And especially to know that the Heavenly Father promised that that sealing that happened that day would carry others that came into our family until they were ready to be sealed and to go through and to carry. If their testimonies wavered or faltered, it would still be okay. They would come, they would make it. And that's such a wonderful feeling because you love everyone so much. And then I got a whole new appreciation when Matt died. To know that that wasn't anything bad. I mean, it was hard, and it still is, but to know that there was still a family, he's still sealed, and Tiff is okay, you know, and the kids are okay because they still have him, especially when you see the pain of that time of separation, to know that's okay, that we'll still all be together, and we'll be so happy and crazy, and just be our family for eternity, and to know that is just so incredible. I can't imagine what it'd be like to think that you wouldn't be together forever, and you wouldn't have this experience to just know that families are together forever. to just have the blessing of knowing that we're all so eternally united with Heavenly Father and the Savior, and how good it was that He did what He did so that this could happen, and you're just so grateful for the experience of being sealed. I can't imagine what it would be like without it. And I don't want to. I'm just so happy that it is, and that we can be eternal family forever. I wish there was a way to fully express it. That there were words that were immortal. I think the true feeling of eternal family and eternal sealings is a word that comes from the celestial kingdom that we don't have yet. That Heavenly Father will say, this is the word. But I think joy is about as close as you can come. Eternal joy to be sealed for eternity to the people that you love. And it's so fun because they come into your life and you think, I love them so much, there's absolutely no way that I could ever love anyone as much as I love them. And then another person comes and you go, oh, I love them so much. And then another one comes and love just expands. And I think part of that is that you know you're going to be together forever.
Well, you know, One of the things I enjoy the very most is when I look at that unit upstairs with the photos on it. I see my great-grandchildren. Never knew, somehow, when you're young, you never think of that. Someday you will too. Great-grandchildren.
Weird, right?
It's hard for you to do right now.
Uh-huh.
But when it happens, wow. Well, this is obvious. Look at my pictures. Look at what I have on my. I would think of I can't think of another picture or anything I'd like on my phone.
Except one of the other.
Well, yeah, you can't have them all.
Picture of the great
They're all
grandkid,
there,
yeah.
but you know,
It's
that's what
it's
you
so
want most.
fun.
And,
It's just a great
you can
experience.
just- it's a great feeling, and you guys get to work and start having a lot more.
Oh, well, I'll tell Carly you said so. And
But you know, when you get down to the employment center, they're all old people like us. That's what you talk about.
it's the
Your
grandkids and
grandkids, your
great-grandkids.
grandkids. Well, I've got 30 grandkids.
All
Yeah.
because of what happened that day.
Yeah, it is a fascinating story of life. It really is.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Next time we'll
you
get
didn't
to
even
talk
ask
about.
the honeymoon, but that was great too.
Next time we'll get to talk about the newlywed stuff.